Hey guys, Rick here from Stony Acres Gardening. It is October, and that means that it's fall and frost is coming. If it hasn't already come to your garden, it's probably coming soon. We haven't had frost yet. We're here on October 1st when I'm filming this video, but looking at our weather forecast, it's looking like we're, a week to 10 days away and we'll have that first frost. So a lot of things happening. We're obviously going to be putting away all of our warm season crops very soon. But there are actually a few things that we can still be planting in October that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. So the first thing that you guys need to recognize is anything you plant in October in your garden, if you live in zones 5, 6, and 7, okay, kind of the middle zones, anything you plant now, you're actually planting for next spring. So the reason why is because what's going to happen. Anything we plant, we're going to get germination, okay? It'll germinate and it'll start to grow. But go and look at your day length calculator, your weather app or something like that. Here in Salt Lake City, Utah, today we have about 11 hours and 45 minutes of day length, okay? By the end of October, we are going to be down really close to only 10 hours of day length. October is that transition month. The days get dramatically shorter very quickly. And so we're losing 5+ minutes a day of day length right now. And so that is really important for our plants. Once we hit that 10-hour mark, so only 10 hours of day length, total day length in our day, most plants, even plants that are tolerant of cold weather, shut down, okay? There's just not enough sunlight, not enough energy for them to really do much growing. So now if you were to look at a plant like a spinach plant on October 31st and then compare that same spinach plant on February 15th, there would be some growth, okay? But very, very little, not what we're used to seeing, okay? And so plants really kind of shut down. So anything you plant in October is going to germinate and get up and start growing, and then it's going to just kind of turn off for the winter. So you need to offer it some kind of protection to keep it alive over the winter time, and then it's going to take off and give you a really early harvest in the spring. So anything we plant now in October is going to come up, just get little. We're going to cover it with a hoop house, a fabric row cover, or like a cold frame, and then it'll take off in the spring. Okay, so anything we do now is for spring. So let's talk about what we can actually be planting in zones 5, 6, and 7 in October. So first, and probably the most important on my list to get planted in October, is our garlic and our shallots. So both of those, ideally, we want to plant after our first frost date, but before the ground freezes. So for us, that window is usually somewhere between about October 15th and November 15th. After our first frost, but before the ground freezes. What that does is that allows the garlic and the shallots to get root development. So roots start growing out of the clove, but we don't get any top development. If we wait until it's a little bit colder, then we won't get that top development. Now, if you do get some top development, it's not the end of the world, but it's better if we don't. So wait until after your first frost, but before the ground freezes, sometime in October, to get your garlic and your shallots planted. Now, the next crop that I'm going to have you plant in October is called mosh. We sometimes also refer to it as corn salad. Mosh is a really fun leafy green that you can plant that actually kind of ignores that 10-hour rule that I talked about earlier. So it will continue to grow and progress during the season. So if you get some to germinate now in October, you should actually have some plants ready to harvest if you've protected them, in late January, early February. They're actually going to progress and continue to grow because they don't need that 10 hours of day length like some of the other plants. Another one that you could plant this time of year is called Claytonia, also sometimes called miner's lettuce. That is the same way. So if you plant it now in October, it will grow over the winter and give you a very early spring, late winter harvest. Again, but you have to protect it with a cold frame or something like that. Now, other things that we can be planting this month are going to include just a ton of the different leafy greens. So kale, spinach, lettuce, collards, Swiss chard, tatsoi, arugula, endive, all of those are going to do really well. You're going to, again, plant them. They're going to germinate and get up and growing a little bit. And then we're going to protect them over the winter for an early spring harvest. All of those are going to do really well planted that way. You could also do the same with beets and turnips. So you can plant them now. They're probably just going to get started, and then they're going to overwinter, and you'll get an early harvest of those. And then the last thing on the list that you could plant this time of year, if you wanted to, would be some white potatoes, some regular white potatoes. You could stick a few of those in the ground. They're not going to do anything, okay? They're just going to overwinter and come up really early in the spring for a spring harvest. So if you want to try that, you'll probably be more successful doing something like that if you live in zone 7, maybe zone 6B. The colder zones, it's going to be a little bit rougher on you to do that, but you could try that as well. So there you go. Mostly leafy greens that we can plant this time in October. Just remember that we need to be protecting those crops over the winter. So how are we going to protect them? The first thing would be just some simple fabric row covers. So we want heavy fabric row covers, something that's like 1.5 to 2 ounces per square yard. Those will, once those plants get up and the cold weather starts to settle in, you can just throw those blankets over the top of them, weigh them down with some rocks or poles or something like that. And those plants will overwinter under that fabric row cover and under the snow and be just fine for the spring. If you want to get a little bit of growth progress from those plants, then it would be better to either use a hoop house, which a hoop house is just a hoop structure with some plastic over the top of it, or even better, a cold frame. Cold frames are a box with a glass lid on top. Those are going to offer lots of protection for those little plants, and then as soon as the 10-hour days come back, so early February, we're going to start to see growth on those plants again, and you'll get a very early harvest from your cold frames and your hoop houses of those leafy greens if you plant them now in October. So that's everything that you can plant in zones 5, 6, and 7 during the month of October. The earlier you get that done, the better. So if you can get them planted fairly early in October, that's going to be best. So as soon as you clear out your warm season crops, go ahead and get some of those leafy greens planted, and you should be in really good shape for an early spring harvest. All right, that's all I have for you for this week. Before we go, I do have a fun little free mini course on some of the garden tasks that you should be doing now in the fall that are going to help you in the spring. They're going to make your spring so much easier if you do these tasks. And so there's 4 of them that I cover in this mini course. It's about 25 minutes long. It's 100% free. You can click on the link in the description of this video. That will take you over and you can sign up for it. You just join our newsletter and you get free access to that course. So it's a fun little course, tips on how you can get things ready in the fall for an early spring garden. So take a look at that. The link is down in the description of this video. Okay, please make sure you get subscribed to my channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and we will talk to you next week. Happy gardening.